Okay, good morning and welcome to Mo Knows, featuring me, Monica Mo Justice. All right, that delay is real. Okay, all right, all righty then. I did not do devotion this morning on the live feed because in the recent week, I've had a few incidents where the sound came up with the music. So I'm still redesigning my my channel over here. So I got some things to work on. Hold on. Like right now I'm about to work on something cuz I don't like the way that looks. So I need to change something right quick cuz I don't like the way that looks. I don't like the way that looks either, but I think it's much better than what ooh than what we was working with. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's where we are at today. Woo. All right. Today's topic. I have some housekeeping issues to deal with. Um, so I was invited to participate on a panel discussion tonight, which is Thursday. I actually scheduled it with the person with not the person with JT, who is Underrated Darkness, for this evening at 10:35. But I'm not sure if that's doable for me now cuz I should have checked with my other half when I was coordinating stuff. So it's a lot on my end, as I keep telling folks, when you got to balance other people's needs around yours, life becomes, I'm not going to say complicated, but, there are challenges sometimes. So I'm going to have to reach out to him. But nevertheless, when I do it, he has requested that I um, notify you guys on this end that have that I'm participating in the interview by putting up a 1 minute video announcing it on my channels. So he has some criterion over there. Never hate on somebody who has structure in their environment. Um, so I got to work that out. But I did have a good discussion on his platform yesterday. Um, Let me define good discussion. No one was doxing anyone or yelling at anyone. So it was that to me qualifies as a good discussion. But it did wake me up as to why I don't travel in certain circles anymore. Some of the talking points that are out here, I can't stomach them. They just don't work for me. Um, Mo, what talking points are you talking about? Um, the same talking points that people hear over and over again. What I like about JT's environment, Underrated Darkness, he talks politics. I love to talk politics, but I don't love to talk regurgitations of CNN, MSNBCs, these narratives that are out there. I like to talk to people who vote and people who understand how how the process works in itself, like how government works, its effectiveness, its ineffectiveness. I like those kind of discussions, right? Um, so the standard talking points, like, oh, you're not gonna believe it, that like let me see, one of the talking points was I will never vote for our current president because he stood by the crime bill in the 90s, right? And I'm up here like I don't even want to go there, so I'm just listening. And that's all I was like saying. I was just listening. Cuz I've heard that talking point before, and the unfortunate thing about it is that I haven't heard it presented in a unique way, one that would prompt me to respond. And I think that's the place I'm at these days. I'm not doing regurgitated garbage anymore. Like it's not in me to do that. So I'm just like, okay, so just be quiet and that's about it. Um and I think that's the approach I'm taking moving into 2023, to keep my spirit at peace, because you can leave out of some discussions in pieces. Because you want to say something. The art of conversation is not mature enough here on this YouTube platform, or I haven't encountered people worthy of that discussion. One, because where you see great conversations occur, one forgets that they are edited. So it's a replay and it's edited so that it comes across as if there was fluid conversation. Or two, they are scripted. Everything else is just banter, back and forth in between talking points, moved on to allegations, accusations, um, without any kind of evidence of it. And when you ask folks to elaborate on their claims, they can't. And that is annoying to me. So when I hear regurgitated conversation, I just tend to be quiet, because everything in me is going to ask questions that is not going to make the participants happy. And personally, I'm gonna leave it there, because I had that walk down there and I was listening. Plus I was at work yesterday. So I was distracted by people coming over and asking me things and having to mute up to speak to folks in order to carry on in my regular life. But so that was my day. That was my day yesterday. So I'm going to have to reschedule that discussion, but I'll let you know when I'll be able to do it, because I also have some homework and I just don't have the time to be finding a picture of myself to send to someone. I gotta think about some things right about now. Let me just put it on what I need to put it on. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that. So moving on. Um, but that Joe Biden thing, I'm going to have to come back and have a conversation on that crime bill discussion. I'm going to have a conversation on it, but I just want to get my facts. So there will be more to come on that. And I'm talking about the crime bill the impact that Crown Bill had on the community, his apology during the campaign, as its unintended consequences, uh, or not, but it needs a conversation. Um, it needs a conversation. Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna leave it like that. Today's focus for me. I think I named this video. It's the preteens for me because of YouTube. You know, you got to be a little bit more, have a little more discretion. So today I'm gonna talk about two two preteens, right, in the age of 10 and 11, who made the news this week. And this would have been a definite conversation for Two Thoughts Tuesday, but I had to work, so I couldn't bring it to you on the Two Thoughts Tuesday part of it. So, on the I just so that would have been a this would have been a prime discussion for Two Thoughts Tuesday, because this would be two things that are similar thoughts that yield one conclusion. Um, hold on. Okay. Okay. So here we are. We have a 10-year old who um kills his mom, and we have an 11-year old who testifies about the death of his auntie. Um, and they both are. Ooh, I'm still. I asked if. All right, they're both preteens. We'll leave that like that. All right. I know that's right. So we got one kid that testifies, and the other one who mama dies. Hmm. Okay. Hey, Boogie. Hey, Boogie. Hey, Boogie. All right. So here we go. Here we go. All right. Which one y'all want me to start with first? Let's talk about. Let's start with the unbelievable that a 10-year-old would kill his mother. A 10-year-old would murder his mother over a virtual game, eyeglassy thing. I don't know what it is. All I know, it looks like some goggles on your eyes, and he wanted a pair. She said no, and he smoked his mom. And I'm using the terminology smoked his mom because it's like wipe out. And both of these stories have to deal with video games. That's why this would have been a perfect topic for two thoughts Tuesday. Um so let me just get to the let me just get to the story. They say that he's a 10-year-old who killed his mother over um a VR headset. Um and he is currently being prosecuted. I can give you the skimmy of the story. The bottom line is she she wouldn't buy it. Okay, the boy has been charged with first degree reckless homicide in the November 21st fatal shooting of his mother. He's from Wisconsin. Um, he's being charged as an adult. Um, he told the police that he was upset she wouldn't let him buy a virtual reality headset on Amazon. The shooting unfolded at 10 at 6:50 in the morning. So this is before 7 a.m. on November 21st. Just a day later, the boy went on to buy. That's what I thought I had heard, but I wanted to make sure. So after he killed his mother, he went on to buy the headsets, utilizing his deceased mom's Amazon account. He even asked his grandmother if the package arrived. And this is what is written in a criminal complaint. Um, his mother was 44 years old. Was shot at close range. Um, the bullet entered her right eye and exited the back of her head through her skull. Now, it's my understanding the family turned him in. The boy initially told investigators that his mom woke up at 6 a.m. and that he retrieved her gun from her bedroom and went to the basement where she was doing laundry. As he was twirling the gun around his finger, it accidentally went off. So what they're trying to show here is that he intentionally did it and he had a mission of guilt, basically. After he killed his mother, he went to the second story bedroom to wake his 26-year-old sister, who discovered their mother was dead and called 911. So he's 10 and he's got a 26-year-old sister, right? The kid is a hot mess and a half. But in the later interviews with police, the boy admitted he was not twirling the gun around when he shot his mother. He admitted that his mother would not allow him to have something from Amazon that he wanted to have. And he admitted that he retrieved the gun because he was mad at her for waking him up at 6 a.m. when he usually sleeps until 6:30. And admitted getting his mother's keys to her gun lockbox the night before. He went to the basement and took up a shooting stance. And this is according to the complaint. He said his mother walked in front of him when he tried to shoot the wall to scare her. discipline, charmed life. And he admitted that he shot her in the face when she was approximately 3 feet away. He then put the gun in the living room closet and woke up his sister. The complaint said the boy admitted to knowing that guns are dangerous and can kill people. His sister told police that the boy had rage issues and all his life, and becomes very angry and acts out. The boy told investigators that he has 5 different imaginary people he talked to. Okay. One of them, one of those imaginary people should have whipped his tail. Okay. So, I'm going to tell you, stop, Mo. A therapist who had been meeting with the boy gave him a concerning diagnosis. The sister said, per the complaint, I don't know what a concerning diagnosis is, but I know one thing. This whole family, when they fell asleep and woke up with this boy amongst them, they quickly got rid of him. Because they already had one fatality in the family. No one wants to keep a kid around them that is this dangerous. The mother had also placed cameras in the home to watch him. 2 weeks ago, before the shooting, the sister learned from her mother that someone had unplugged the cameras. Police also interviewed other family members, including an aunt of the boy, who told police he never cried and showed no remorse. No. You think? The morning after the shooting, on November 22nd, the boy logged on to his mother's Amazon account. This is going to be consciousness of guilt right here, and ordered some kind of virtual reality headset. His sister told investigators the same morning his aunt took him to his grandmother's house to meet with the Child Protective Services workers. The affidavit said that when he arrived, he saw his grandma crying and stated without any empathy or compassion, I'm really sorry for what happened. I'm sorry for killing my mom. After he apologized for killing his mother, he then asked if the Amazon package arrived. The boy made his initial court appearance Friday, and the cash bond of $50,000 was set. Online court records show his next status hearing is set for Wednesday. If he is convicted, he faces a maximum of 60 years in prison. Now, I don't know why he would get 60 years. Because one, he's a minor, and that must be a life sentence in Wisconsin. Now, as you know, the Supreme Court a few years ago will not allow the death penalty for minors. And there are, for minors, for children under the age of 18, for anyone under the age of 18 who commits a crime, they will not allow the death penalty. In rare cases, will they allow for a life sentence. In each jurisdiction, that means each state, has a different determined period of time for life sentences. So that's how that goes. That's how that plays itself out. So we'll see. So that's definitely a case going on. It doesn't matter if they have the death penalty, because of the Supreme Court decision. He wouldn't be eligible for the death penalty, but he could serve a life sentence, and a life sentence has a number of years to it. So a life sentence doesn't mean until you die. It means like it could be, some states a life sentence is 50 years, some states a life sentence is 60 years. I think they gave this number 60 based on the charges running consecutively, so one after the other. Like the one, whatever it is, for whatever charges they have against him, maybe they have like one something for the gun or whatever. Sounds very indefinite, Monica, that you didn't look this up. Well, let me tell you why. Because I've been up here, and there are channels here that are legal channels where the attorneys are talking, and these are people that went to school and got themselves a JD and went and passed the bar, who sit up here and tell you stuff, and they seem to not know nothing about anything. And it drives me crazy how they opine on these kind of situations. So I'm basically just giving you an overview, but not the specifics to this case, because I haven't looked it up, but it is one that I will follow. And if you are familiar with my channel and my style of discussion, I like to discuss the court cases based on what actually happens in the courtroom, not what people say before they get there, not what pundits put out there, not the sound bites you receive from either the prosecutor or the defense before you get into trial. I like to go with what is exactly happening in the courtroom and what's presented in court, because at the end of the day, it is only that information that the jurors are looking at in order to make a determination. So all the other chatter or all the other dicta around what we hear is not important. Only what happens when they get to the court and what the jurors get to hear. So hopefully this will be a case, since it's Wisconsin, that could be televised. Nope, it's not going to be televised. You know why? Because nope, they're trying him as an adult, so they might televise it, even though he's a minor. More to come. The issue is, could they really try him as a minor because he's 10 years old and he presents with these mental issues because he was already seeing somebody for that. Even if he gets 6, so at the end of the day, if he gets a life sentence, right? A life sentence would mean there are rare circumstances based on the Supreme Court decision that a minor who is found guilty of a death penalty type case will serve 60 years. I think it's really 25. But as I say, each state is differently. Next preteen to talk about this week is the Tatiana Jefferson. Is she Jefferson? Yes, a Tatiana Jefferson case. Now, you may recall back in 2019, we started to cover this case here. So I was anxious for it to go through the legal process because this is a police involved shooting. You may remember it's in the good state of Texas. These are wonderful cases in all of the states where the laws are complicated. So in the great state of Texas, a neighbor is looking out his window and he noticed that his neighbor's front door is open. So he calls the non-emergency number of the police department and requests a wellness check on the home of a Tatiana Jefferson, which is her mother's home. She's living there and she's taking care of her nephew that evening. And as the story evolved, this is what we knew at the time, and then I'll tell you what we found out from the court. The police officers arrive as 2 police officers. One is a senior officer who is training another officer. And they go to, and the officer in training goes around back. The officer in training goes around the back of the house, It's caught on his body cam. He approaches one of the windows of the house wherein Jefferson is inside. She hears whatever sound it is on the outside. She goes to get her she goes to her bag to retrieve her weapon, which is a gun. And as she has the gun in her hand and she's approaching the window, the officer shoots her. He yells something. I forgot what craziness he yells, but it was not a traditional command like that you would expect an officer to yell in the situation. So I'm gonna say he had an utterance. He uttered something. But she, of course, is inside. So in the room with her is her nephew. And at the time, he's about 8 years old, 7 or 8 year old. And he witnesses her being shot. So that's what we know. We got his body cam footage was put out there immediately. We can't really see what goes on inside there. There's the image of a woman, maybe. There's an image of something in the window. But he shot her. For her side of the story, she has a license to carry, so she was lawfully in her house and in her home with she was lawful in having her weapon, and she had a right to self-defense inside her own home, but she did not fire or shoot at anyone. He did it all for her. So the question is, why did they arrest him? For her murder. With current standards, current laws, the current laws are not written to prosecute police officers. We need laws structured for officer involved shootings that turn to be negligent. You need to write laws for that activity. Taking our current laws and trying to make them fit the equation of what the officer does out there is not fair to officers as a whole, and it's not fair to us seeking justice. That's just my opine on it. However, in this case, they've charged him with with her murder, and they're moving forward. There were numerous delays in prosecuting this case beyond the COVID experience, beyond the pandemic. He had a request for change of venue, several different reasons that the case was delayed. And recently, as this week, his lead attorney on the case dies. So actually, this week the case begins with they start the trial, and they have to adjourn early on one of the days to attend the funeral for the police officer's lead counsel. Too much theatrics there. Overall, I think he's going to be found not guilty. Because I've been busy at work, I hadn't been able to follow the trial except for seeing the 11-year-old testify, and that I will speak in more depth about that in a second. But I was this morning looking, and come to find out that the prosecution rests their case. So that's annoying to me. Because I'm like, what kind of case did they put forward? Eek. So that's it. So the 11-year-old testifies. I think he did a great job on the stand. I think, he gave his account of what he saw, and we got some flavor behind things. Why was the front door open? The front door was open because he was making some burgers that his auntie had taught him how to make. And he put them in the stove. So apparently this is something that they was kind of like baking or something. And as luck should have it, they retreat to the bedroom to play video games. His auntie is playing on the big screen TV. I think she's playing a PS4. He says she's playing PS4, and he is playing a handheld game. I bought T one of those. It's a handheld game system. Can't think of the name off the top of my head. But I definitely bought T1 during the pandemic. Anyway, he's sitting there playing his game. She's sitting there playing her game. Guess what? The hamburgers burn inside the stove. So what do? They go into the kitchen and they open the doors around the house to get the smoke out of the house. And they were trying to wave the smoke out or what have you. And what did they do? These are people that let hamburgers burn. They retreated back into the bedroom and continued to play the video game. So the young man admits to having opened the door. They get engrossed in their game and just forgetting it. She is playing the video game. His auntie is playing her video game. He names the game as something realm or something. I don't know if that matters because I guess they're gonna play. This is so amazing that we have so many crimes of non-black folks who go in and shoot up, engage in what do you call those mass shootings, and we don't have this much detail into the video games that they play. And we know that for years people were looking at the psychosis of these mass shooters and say that the video games triggered that behavior. Here we have people minding their own business in their own home, shot in their own home, and you want to blame the video game on them. Anyway, the young man is playing his virtual game. The auntie's sitting there playing her virtual game with her friends. So that means she is in virtual space playing a game with her friends. The defense tried to make it like her friends were playing the game. Yeah, fool. They play the game online. Just like I'm talking to you online. I'm not talking to people, but I'm talking to people because I'm live. She was playing a game. So the little boy had to explain how that works. So they tried to make him, I felt like they gave the appearance that he was extremely biased and extremely smart when it comes down to the video games, that he may know, he may be a little bit more sophisticated in his account of things. He gave the prosecutors as honest answers as he could offer as a young man based on their interviews with him. The defense gave a lot of reasonable doubt in their questioning of him to discredit him. I did not particularly care for the judge. I didn't feel like the judge was. I want to see some of that coddling behavior that I've seen from these female judges when they allow everybody to talk. But this judge was a little bit, to me, stern on a young lad sitting there because he was like, speak up, and I just found him to be a little mean. So I was a little bit taken back from it. I felt like the judge was intimidating. If that had been my child. We also learned, now I know from the media that Tatiana's father had passed away after her death. But we also find out that her mother, which would be his grandmother, the young man testified, she passed away about 3 months after Tatiana passed away. So that family just had the death upon their head. They had one death after the other. I found his testimony to be quite fluid to me. And it answered some of the questions that I would have asked, like why was the door open? So now I have an answer. They must have loved this video game because they blocked out the whole world around them to play the video game. Um, he did mention on the stand that when his auntie got up, she they initially thought it might be a raccoon in the yard, and the defense was like, so this is the first time that you're mentioning this raccoon situation, and I thought it just came out as innocently as it did, as if the child a remembered something. Um, the trial is gonna boil down to, did the officer have feel was he in fear for his life at the moment that he shot her? And evidently, I think the jury's going to come back and say, yes, he had to be, even though he did some things wrong, he shot her. This is their standard. What would a reasonable officer do? A reasonable officer will follow the rules, and if they followed the rules of engagement, a reasonable officer probably wouldn't get shot. And that's the defined moment that the prosecutors have to present. But if the prosecutors fail to do so, and in arresting within 3 days, I guess they don't have much to go on. They didn't bring in, they needed to do more for me for it to rest. But since I haven't seen it, I'm probably able to catch up today and get more insight into who testified, what testified, and how that unraveled. But uh, it's just crazy. It's a unfortunate occurrence that she died. I didn't like the questioning from the prosecutors as it relates to the family attorney Lee Merritt, and trying to put his credibility on the line as it relates to manipulating a 10-year-old. This boy has experienced a tragic event, and their actions as officers the day of, he testified that they basically shot, killed his aunt. He didn't even know what had happened to her, just that she fell on the floor. And then that they didn't even give her no medical attention. They were too busy trying to get him out of the place. He was in his underwears. They put him in a police car. He had another officer, when he arrived to the scene, secured the young man by, making sure he was dressed appropriately, by giving him his personal t-shirt or something of his own personal belongings. Um, just crazy. Just crazy. It just showed to me, and listening to what I heard from a 10-year old who was about 7 or 8, 11-year old today, who was about 7 or 8 at the time of this incident. Talk about how the people hired to protect don't show us any professional courtesy. And that's how I see it. You walk into our communities for whatever reason it is, and you are just abhorrent with how you treat us. So that's disheartening for me. Um, I don't know how else to say it. It was Tatiana's death was the year of the woman killed by police officers, and it's one of those events where, as a woman myself, I feel like we need to put a voice to this, because we cannot have the woman of color assassinated and it go unspoken. Well, we'll see. I'm not having an enormous amount of comfort with this, but it is what it is. Um, Questions, comments, or concerns out of the chat. on these two young men. I want to give y'all a bonus. I want to talk about the Shanquella, and it's going to be brief, less than 5 minutes. um, Only because I sat back here now for a couple of weeks and I've watched this stuff just circulate in the month of November about the case itself, right? Or what could be a case. So if you're not familiar with it, young lady travels with 6 of her friends to Mexico. And she is they have classified it as femicide. She is murdered by her friends. People have looked at the similarities between the Kanika Jenkins case and this young lady's death, and I do believe there are similarities. Because it's a group of kids who are in Kanika Jenkins' case they were young adults, but here we go again with a group of young adults reporting the status to a parent and not being truthful with what occurred in their presence. And as a result, the young lady is deceased, and you're trying to put together the stories of the kids. They're not kids, of the young adults or her companions. And in addition to that, and the reason I say kids is because I'm a mom with my young adults are the same age, and I always see them, I guess, as my kids. So now you have these stories, and you have video that surfaced of a fight or of an assault. Because I can't. When I see a fight, I'm thinking I'm looking for more for it to be in the fight. For it to be a fight where it is, I didn't see anybody defending themselves. I just saw an attack. So to me, it's an assault. But here's the thing. Channel after channel up here. Oh, they issued an arrest warrant. She's getting arrested. They're being arrested. Listen, the FBI has to investigate. The Department of Justice will have to get involved because why? Hold on a second. These are U.S. citizens who went over to a foreign country, Mexico, and a U.S. citizen died. So my question that I've been posing to everybody that'll listen to me is, would the U.S. hand over their own to a foreign entity? Now, maybe they would. We'll have to see. It's not like it was a U.S. citizen killed a Mexican citizen. Do we have the laws on the federal books? Because this is not a state-by-state issue. This is where our federal government comes in place. Do we have federal laws that would cover the prosecution of an American citizen who kills an American citizen abroad? Do we have the capacity to try that case ourselves? I think we do. And I think we don't need to be turning over our citizens to Mexico. Why do I say that? One, they lied. They lied. When you look at the reports, right, her death, if it had not been probed harder, we would be led to believe that there was nothing there. We have citizens, many over there on vacations, dying left and right when you look at reports coming back. So there's something over there, and it was definitely corruption, because how were they able to leave there in the first place? And what prevents us from turning them over and you let them come back anyway? So this shows a grave concern that they would not be able to really try this case so that the family could find justice. But when I listen to the parents are like, oh, they need to go back over there and be tried and convicted. I'm like, yo, who is talking to these people? What are they thinking? What? I want them arrested. I want them tried. I want them convicted. I don't know. I don't understand. But maybe it's because we don't understand the capacity of our judicial system. Maybe we too have no confidence in it and believe that in a sovereign in another municipality would be able to enact a punishment that we could relate to because our system is so anti-justice for the victim that one would believe that they would just get away. So I don't know who's zooming whom around here, but at the end of the day, I know that people have started a GoFundMe so that the parents can be able to travel to the foreign land to watch the trial or whatever. Let me tell you something. They have to get a Zoom camera. I'm not going nowhere near the place where my child died and you lied to me. And then it cost me $6,000 to bring my child home from you. And I'm supposed to want to go there, sit there and watch a trial. No, I would be advocating hard to prosecute them here and to accommodate me here because I found out everything here. It's nothing they could do for me in Mexico. There's nothing they could do for me. But that's my take on it. I'm sure other people will see it differently and have seen it differently, or there's been no critical thinkers on the topic. Everybody's just going on this regular route of stuff. If so and so says it, then it must be my talking point. I would encourage folks to own your thoughts and to ask more questions, especially when we're dealing in a justice system. Coming from somebody with a name like Mo Justice, Mo Justice is what we're looking for. We need some more of that out here. So this kind of case is like killing me softly because I need the brighter people to come out here and say something, or I need somebody to come before those cameras and give me some more information. But nevertheless, the FBI is investigating. I watched another channel on here where the mother of one of the they calling them the Cabo Six. Those are the companions that travels with her, the friends or whatever, or we're traveling, we're meeting up there. They're calling them the Cabo Six, and one mother is allegedly speaking out on behalf of her son and giving updates all throughout the social media. Silence is golden. What be wrong with people? Anyway, for what it's worth, they got her out here. We all know the name. Now we're all just waiting to see what that justice looks like. Questions, comments, or concerns out the chat as it relates to the Shanquilla dilemma. If you missed my live this morning and you catch me on the replay, hit your comments in the comment section. Let me see what your thoughts are on this case, and let's try to have some intelligent thought process or sharing our feelings so that I can hear or get the pulse of what the community is thinking and see where we go from there. Seeing no further questions in the chat, I'm gonna sign off. Today's broadcast, I want to first just say hi to this person that popped in at the end. Today's broadcast. Oh, let me just wait and see. Did you have anything to add to the 3 court cases that I discussed today? Okay. So today's broadcast was brought to you by the M and the O. Mo, mo, mo.